Hi Amy, this is your chapter for this week of maths. It's on data 2. So it's looking at bar charts and it's also looking at pie charts. You'll remember having done pie charts earlier this year too in our green school stuff. What you need for this chapter is a protractor to measure angles, and you also need a compass to draw circles. So try and get them. Ellie might have some anyway, and you'll need them for doing this. So if you look at this, you might remember seeing these kind of charts before. They are called multiple bar charts. It's where you have two bits of information put together. So as you can see there, it's a sports one. So it's year 1 and year 2. So they're comparing years, and it's a multiple bar chart. So look at the data, and the data here is the box beside it, ages of children in Miss Burke's choir. And you're finding averages. It says check on page 20 if you can't remember how to find an average. I'll do a few with you anyway, so to just remind you how to find averages. And the first one is order the data set from youngest to oldest. What age is the youngest and oldest child? What age occurs most frequently? So what number there, what age is it most often occurs? And calculate the average of age of the choir member. And to get the average, you add up all the numbers that you can see and you divide them by the amount of numbers. So for instance, here you'll be adding 9, 8, 10, 11, 13, 10, 2 more 11s, 9 and 8. Add all those numbers together and divide it by how many numbers there are. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 10 numbers, and that's how you get an average of something. So I'll give you the answers for those few now. So the first one, the data in the set, you have 2 8s, 2 9s, 2 10s, 3 11s, and 1 13. And the youngest is 8 years and the oldest is 13. Number 3 is 11, and number 4, the average was 10. And C, find the average of each of these sets of numbers. Again, add all the numbers together in each set and divide by how many numbers are in each set. So C1A, you should have got 8, B 18, 2B 93, and 3A 95. And part D then is what number is missing in each of these. So you've got a number sequence here in a sentence, so adding, and then you have divide by 3 equals 5. So what you do is the same as your maths tables book, if you remember these kind of things in it. So you do the opposite of what you see. So you have a divide by sign there. So you actually multiply 3 times 5. And we'll do it on the calculator now. So 3 times 5 is 15. Now, if you take away the numbers that you see there, because I know some numbers, so I have a 6 in it, so take away 6, and I have a 5, and I take away 5. And what am I left with? I'm left with 4. So my missing number there is 4. And then just check if you're right. So we've got 4 plus 6 plus 5 equals 15. Divide that by 3 and your answer is 5. Okay, so that's the way to do that one. So do the opposite of what you see, okay, and then you take away the numbers in the sequence, and that should leave you with the missing number. The others would all be the same, so you've only 2 more to do there. So 2A in that, you should get 23, and 3B, you should get 21. And then the challenge yourself there. The average of a list of 6 numbers is 120. If we remove one of the numbers, the average of the remaining numbers is 15. What is the number that was removed? Okay, well, the average of 6 numbers is 20. So what is the total in that amount? So 6 times 20 is 120. So if we put down 120, okay, and the average of the remaining 5 numbers is 15. Okay, so 5 times 15 is 75. So I have 120 from the first averages. Take away the 75 and the number must be 45. So my answer for the first challenge one is 45. The next one then, a class of 25 students took a science test. 10 students had an average score of 80. So 10 times 80 will be 800. The other students had an average score of 60. Okay, so 60 times 15, because that's what's left. So 15 times 60. So 15 students had a score of between them 900. What is the average score of the whole class? So we had 900 in the first average, plus the 800 from the second one. That's 1700. Divide that now by how many students in the class. Divide it by 25, which means their average on the test was 68. Okay. So your next page now is looking at pie charts, and pie charts is just another way of representing data, how you'll see it. So you've bar charts, you've pictograms, pie charts, trend graphs as well as another one. So look at the pie charts for a moment. So 36 children in 5th class were asked how they came to school every day. The results are displayed in a bar chart and a pie chart. Discuss what you see. So you can see which one is easy to answer. They're both quite easy to answer. You can see that walking is the greatest there, most popular way to come to school, and that takes up most of the space in the pie chart. Cycling then, and then you have the car amount, and you can also see that the lowest number is taxi, which is low here on the bar chart, but also just has a tiny slice of the pie chart. What are the similarities and differences between the pie chart and the bar graph? Well, I suppose the similarities are they're showing the same data, and that both of them are easy to read. The differences is obviously the pie chart's done in circular form and this is done in bars. Imagine 3,600 children were asked about their way of coming to school. Would you prefer to use a bar chart or a pie chart to display your results? Give a reason for your choice. Well, it would be easier to display that one in a pie chart because you could draw it all onto the circle to represent it. That's where you would find your angles. Whereas if you had to make a bar chart up to 3,600, could be quite big, depending on what your intervals would be. And you can see the intervals are in twos here, going up the side. And pie charts are often used in newspapers and magazines and by businesses. Why? Can you find some examples? So if you see or you look up some newspapers, you would see them. And I suppose they're used a lot because they're easy to read. Okay, look at the pie chart and answer the questions. Preferred chicken sandwiches. So these are easy. I let you stop the tape before the answer's done so that you can just correct it from it then. So I'll give you the answers now. So A1A is chicken salad and ham salad. B is tuna and sweet corn. C is ham salad. And number 2, which is the next pie chart, A is Ruby and Olivia, B is Sophie, and C is false. And then look at the pie chart and answer the questions. So it's pocket money received in 5th class per month. Okay, so if you look at it, so the dark blue represents greater than €20 a month. The yellow is between 15 and 19 euro. The red is between 10 and 14 euro. And the green is less than 10 euro. Okay, and that's how it looks. So what fraction of the class receive more than 20 euro in the pocket money a month? So you look at the pie chart and it's divided in two. So that fraction would be a half. What fraction receives 15 to 19 euro? And then that's the yellow one. So that's 1/4. Okay. 3, the same fraction of children receives amounts between 10 and 14 and amounts less than 10. What fraction do you think that is? So if you look at the two amounts, there's the one that's less than 10 and that's the one between 10 and 14. So they represent, between the two of them, they represent a quarter, don't they? Okay, so what is a half of a quarter? Because that's what it is. It's 1/2 of a quarter. So it's, if you were to write it out, a half of a quarter, you might remember doing these in the fractions the last time we did it. A half of a quarter is a half multiplied by a quarter. 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 4 is 8. So they each represent 1/8 of the pie chart. Or if you divide each other section in two, you get the same. So there'd be 1, 2, there'd be 2 in this quarter, 3, 4, there'd be 2 in this quarter, 5, 6, and 2 in this quarter, 7, 8. So they'd represent 1/8. And the last one there, write these as percentages. The number that received greater than 20 euro, what percentage is that? That's 50% because it was half it. And the number who received between 15 and 19 was a quarter, which is 25%. Next page then is constructing a pie chart, so how you draw them out. So you look at the table first. The table will have the information in it and then you have to draw it out. This table shows the mobile phones used by children in Parkway Youth Club. The make of the phone, so you've got Nokia, Sony Ericsson, a Motorola and a Samsung. The number of children then, so 8 children, 4 children, 6 children and 6 children. So total your amounts, how many children are all together? So we need to find what fraction of children use each particular phone. So find the total number of children surveyed, and the total is 24. So express each of the numbers as a fraction of 24, and then simplify it. So the first one, the Nokia, was 8 out of 24, so you could put an 8 in there. So 8 out of 24 is the same as 1/3. Divide both parts by 8. The next one was 4 out of 24, Sony Ericsson. So 4 divides into 24 6 times, so that's 1/6. The next one was 6 out of 24, which is 1/4. And the next one is 6 out of 24 again, which is 1/4. We need to calculate what fraction of the full circle, 360 degrees, is given to each phone. So remember, the total number of degrees in a circle is 360. So when you go to draw it out, you'll have to measure each of the angles using your protractor. So 1/3 of the children use Nokia phones. So what is 1/3 of 360? So 360 divided by 3, which means that would be the same as 120 degrees. So when you're drawing that, that's 120 degrees. 1/6, so 360 divided by 6 is 60 degrees for the next one. And 1/4, which is 360 divided by 4, means that one's 90 degrees. And the last one was 1/4 as well, so you're going to have two 90 degrees. Two 90s, and they have it done for you there. So 120 degrees, 60, 90, and 90. And if you add those four numbers together, the degrees, you should get back to a full circle, 360 degrees. And that's how you know that you're right, that each one is calculated properly. So have a go at constructing this pie chart. So I don't have a protractor or a compass to show you, but I'll try and just draw it roughly what it would look like. So that's roughly what it would look like. So you have two that were 90 degrees, so that's 1/4 each. They'd be easy to draw in. The Nokia then is 120 degrees. So remember when you're reading off your protractor that it's greater than 90. So that'll depend on which side of the protractor you're reading on. So you'll be reading the side that's greater than 90. So make sure that it's not the other side, that you're not making it smaller. And then your Sony Ericsson then is only 60 degrees. So that's, remember, that'll be less than 90. So always when you're constructing these angles, think of, is it greater or less than a right angle? If it's 180 degrees, that's a straight line. So if it's greater than 180 degrees, it'll be bigger than a straight line. So just be careful when you're doing those. Usually for a pie chart as well, you'd have them in different colours. And you'd have your wee key on the side to show what the colour meant. So you draw like a wee key down, you'd have the 4 different boxes, giving them their names and different colours and then what they represented. What was that one again? How many people? 6. So that represented 6 people, and 6 and 4 and 8. Okay. So the next one you have to do is sketch the pie chart for this next bit, and it's the favourite types of books. So you have the type of book: fiction, cookery, non-fiction, biography, autobiography, biography, and comics. But we don't know the total numbers yet, but we're given other information on the table to help us. So what's the number of children then? So some of that is filled out. What's the fraction total? And what's the angle for each type? And the angle is important because that'll help us construct the pie chart at the end. And remember, all those angles together should equal 360 degrees. So always keep that in mind whenever you're drawing them, so that you shouldn't have any more than that. Okay, well, let's look at the information. That's 180 degrees. Well, we know that 180 degrees is half of 360. So that means that fraction there must be a half. Okay, so half of the number. So we can't calculate that just yet. So let's see, 90 degrees is 1/4. Okay. So if there's 1/4 is the 25 non-fiction, then the half has got to be double that, which will be the double of the number of the children as well. So 1/4 is 25 children. So a half here should actually be 50 children. So it'll be 50 in that amount. Now, 10 cookery books here. Well, that is a fraction, is 1/10. Okay, so 1/10. What's 1/10 of 360 divided by 360? Well, that would be 36 degrees would be that angle. Okay, 1/4 was done for us. This one was 1/20th. So what's 1/20th of 360? So it's 360 divided by 20, which means that degree there would be 18 degrees. The biography is 5. Again, that's the same. So that's 5 out of the whole amount, which is 1/20th. And 1/20th is the same as that one, which is 18%. And this one we have 18%, so it's the same as the last two, which means it had to be 5 comics, and it also has to be 1/20th. Okay, so then see how many people were surveyed. So we have a 50, we had 10, 25, 5, 5, and 5. So that's the same as 100 people. That's the full amount, 100 people. Those fractions we don't need to do anything with, and just calculate the bottom. Does it add to 360 degrees? So we've 180 plus 36 plus 90 plus 18 plus 18 plus 18. And you can see that we get back to 360. So we know that's right. You'll do, so then draw the chart then for this one. So you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have 6 sections to it, so 6 parts, and then color code them as well. Then do this one, sketch the pie chart and fill in the details. So this time we know how many people were surveyed, because actually the total number of children is across here, it's done for us. So 2 plus 4 is 6, 7, 8, and 2 is 10. So this time it's out of 10 people that are surveyed. So this here, fraction total would be 2 out of 10. So 2 out of 10 is the same as 1/5, if we were to put that in fraction. So 1/5, so it's 1/5 of 360. So the angle is, so 360 divided by 5, the angle is going to be 72 degrees. And you can use a calculator to calculate these if you have one. And 1/5 as a percentage, when 1/5 is the same as 2/10, and that as a percentage is 20%. If you remember doing your percentages. Now this time 4, well that's 4 out of 10. 4/10 is 2/5. 2/5. So 2 times that is going to be twice that angle, which is done for us, and it's going to be double our percentage, which is 40%. There's one red then. One red is the same as 1/10. 1/10 of 360 would be 36 degrees, and 10%, which is done for us. Again, 1 here, so this is going to be the exact same. 1/10, 36 degrees, and 10%. And the last one is 2. So it's going to be 2/10 or 1/5 that's done for us. So it's going to be the same as this one here, which is 72 degrees and 20%. So if you add the percentages, they'll all add to 100%, and add the degrees to make sure that it's 360, and it should be. And then look at the pie chart of the teacher's cars and answer the questions. Okay, so I'll give you the answers to those now. So C1 is 6, 2 is 1/6, 3 is 18, and 4 is 60 degrees and 120 degrees. And your next section there, page 170, is looking at the pie chart and answering the questions. So if the chart shows that one person likes maths, how many people were surveyed altogether? And you can see maths is 36 degrees, so that's 1/10. So if you multiplied it out, you should get 10 people. Number 2, what fraction of the group prefers science? Okay, and that would be 3/10. Number 3, how many people prefer English? And that would be 2 people. Number 4 is 4. Number 5 is 10%. And number 6A is 144 degrees, and B is 72 degrees. Just go through how we got those answers, Amy, in case you weren't sure. So what fraction of the group prefers science? That's question number 2. So it was 108 degrees. So that's out of the total of 360 degrees. And you're simplifying that as a fraction. So to simplify it, firstly, I divided by 9. And I came up with 12 out of 40. And then both those will divide by 4, which gives you 3/10. And 3/10 is the same as 30%. And that's where that number came out of for that part. And the numbers prefer in English. Well, as you can see, the 36 degrees that like maths was 1 person. So that would fit in twice into that yellow one if you were to look at it. And then, so that would mean that was 2 people. And then this one had to be 4 because there was 10 people in total. And these 2 represented 4. So 2 more, 5, 6, which means ours had to be 4 people as well. So move on to part B. This table shows how Helen spent her time from midnight on Friday to midnight on Saturday. So sleeping, eating, tennis, walking, doing chores, watching TV, surfing the net, and shopping. Show this information on a blank pie chart. So they have it drawn up. So you'd have to calculate firstly how many hours are there in total, and then what fraction or percentage of each one did she spend her time on, and then answer the questions. Okay, I'll go through the answers now. So there's 24 hours in the day, so it's from Friday midnight to Saturday midnight. So you have 24 hours. So if you get your pie chart, so it's 360 degrees divided by 24, you'll get 15. So each of the segments represents 15 degrees. Okay, that should help you to answer the next set of questions. So the first one is there, how many degrees represents 1 hour? So that's 15 degrees. How many degrees represents, okay, so sleeping, so you'll times it by 15 each of them. So that's 150 degrees. Number 2 is 45 degrees, and the third one is 30 degrees. C1, how many hours are represented by each of these? 45 degrees would be 3 hours. Next one would be 8 hours. The next one, 18 hours. And the next one, 24 hours. What fraction of the day is spent sleeping? 5/12 is the fraction. And spent walking, 1 out of 24, because 1 hour out of 24. And F and G I didn't give you. And turn this table then into a pie chart. Make at least 5 observations on the data. So it was rubbish found on Britas Bay Beach. Okay, and then that was the types of rubbish. Okay, so your greatest one there is going to be cigarettes, isn't it? Yeah, cigarettes. And then styrofoam, plastic, paper, and going on down through the others. Okay, and so you'll have to divide each one by 360. And I know that's quite small, but that's the answer book, what it looks like if you were to represent each of those out. So dividing each number by 360 will give you the amount of degrees you need to calculate for each one, and that's what your pie chart should look like at the end. And then just the checkup page then, if you look at those, the information given there, what fraction of each day is spent teaching, so that's in the yellow, and that was a quarter. 2 was 90 degrees, 3 was 6 hours, 4 is 120 degrees, 5 is 8 hours, 6 is 3 hours, 7, I didn't give you, 9 is 30 degrees, and 10 is 2 hours. And C then, design a pie chart to show that information. Okay, I'm sure you'll do those yourself there, and 10 statements. So for instance, what was the most popular, or something was more popular than whatever else. Okay, right, I hope that one was okay for this week, and I'll chat to you during the week. Bye.